Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your kind attention, please? I'm very glad to see that many of you here to discuss the Estonian readiness for any kind of cyber attacks and our country's resilience in this ever-changing geopolitical world that we live in currently. Yesterday was the Independence Day of Ukraine, 31 years. So I did reach out to friends of mine who live there. And also there's a friend of mine, a course mate actually, who has his own cyber startup. So I was asking how is he feeling? And then he said that he's very scared, but also very hopeful. And I think that sort of mindset is something that we share in this room. So I was very happy to put this panel together. My name is Kati, and I work in Startup Estonia, and I'm the new cyber tech project lead. Do reach out afterwards, after the debate, if you are interested in what we in Startup Estonia are doing and how we can help our community and our people. But without further ado, I will hand over the microphone to our moderator, Lauri, who is going to take over, so do enjoy.
I think we could all ladies and gentlemen, hi. We are gathered here today to talk about the Estonian cyber resilience in current geopolitical tensions, as I can read from this slide over here. Why are we talking about this? What are we going to talk about in general? And I just want to introduce myself, and then everybody will introduce themselves. So for the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about why and how is the cyber threat, the resilience, different now than it was, for example, maybe a year ago. And we're not going to be just talking about the Estonian cyber resilience as a country's cyber resilience, but as we have an international, an audience here who is representing a whole lot of different countries and maybe representing companies which are operating in a whole lot of different countries, then we're going to be stretching it a little bit wider and looking at the cyber resilience and the threats and what has changed in a little bit of a bigger idea here, and then looking at what can we ask you guys and what you can ask us. We are going to be talking about this for about 45 minutes, and then after that 45 minutes. Then we're going to ask you to continue drinking and just do it, out there where there's other people are going to be out there and networking, and so you can see each other and talk about what you heard here, or just talk about what you've seen on the Tartu startup days in general. As for questions from the audience, we do have an opportunity to do that in some specific times. There is a lovely assistant somewhere with the microphone. Yes, the lovely assistant is right there. I think after we've taken some time to introduce ourselves, introduce the problem, and introduce what our ideas are about this, I'm going to give a couple of times to you guys to ask your questions as well. When you're asking a question, please introduce yourselves and then ask a question, not just a sort of a comment. Because there's a very good chance that the people up here are here to actually answer those questions. So, to introduce myself really quickly again, my name is Lauri, and I represent the Estonian Information System Authority. So we're a cybersecurity agency, a civilian agency in Estonia. What we do in general is we build some of these systems that are in use in Estonia, and then we defend these systems as well. The cybersecurity of Estonian systems, including critical information infrastructure, falls under the purview of the Estonian Information System Authority. Right now, I am head of the R&D coordination, but my background is in cybersecurity threats and threat analysis and so on and so forth. And on my right, there are distinguished guests here. And what I'm going to ask you, all of you, today to begin with is, first of all, could you please introduce yourselves? What you do, why do you feel that your expertise here in these areas is, like, why are you here? But the most important question that I'm going to ask you is, what do you think has changed between the start of the war in Ukraine in cyber now? What was different from before and now in terms of your landscape, your sector, your market? And so let's start off right now. On my right, Jaanika, go ahead. It's on.
Hello. So I'm Jana. I'm the VP of Product here at Binalace. And what we do is we provide an enterprise digital forensic solution. And these are not the words that everybody knows in this room probably, so let me unpack that a bit. So in cyber resilience, one of the key things that all of us here know is that the number of attacks that are going on in the cyberspace between countries, against countries, but also against enterprises is increasing an insane amount. It's around 20-30% each year. And that means that we need to, companies need to figure out quickly if there has been a breach, if it is indeed so, then how did they get in, what did they take, and how can we stop it as soon as possible. And traditionally, if any one of you have seen a TV show, CSI Miami or anything similar, there are those guys and girls with rubber gloves who go to the crime scene and then collect fingerprints and figure out the story. Then we build software for the same guys that do this in the cyberspace. So we allow the investigators to collect digital evidence from the digital crime scene and figure out the story as quickly as possible so that those cyber incidents can be closed as quickly as possible. And yeah, from this very distinguished panel, I think me, among others, have a bit of perspective into what is going on in the enterprise and SMB space around cybersecurity. What has, I think, changed from beginning of March or end of February, I think the cyberspace and cyber resilience has gotten like a lot more clout. Like it is a matter of pride to have good cyber resilience. Everybody's talking about it. Economists say that when taxi drivers start telling you about stocks, then the bubble is bursting. I think it's not one-to-one with cyber security, but I think it's really good that I can hear people generation older than me talking about cyber resilience and, hey, I think I'm being phished. The fact that the ordinary non-IT people actually know what it is, I think is a very welcome positive change, even if the triggers were absolutely not positive.
All right, thank you, Jana. Just one question, a follow-up question. Your product helps collect digital fingerprints, forensics, digital forensics. Can you just, if I have a company and I was breached, can I just ask you to come in and collect all those fingerprints, or do I need to be your client before anything happens?
Well, the thing with fingerprints is that you can definitely collect them later on as well. But a good parallel would be with surveillance cameras. It's always better to have them. Then you can. So if you have our software installed before, it's like installing a surveillance camera. You will have more evidence, right? But even if you don't, then we can still help you to find the right evidence. It's like the right needle in the right haystack.
All right, thank you very much. Aare, how you doing?
Not bad, thank you, Lauri. So Jana, CSI Miami, the bad code in the command line was always red. Is it true or not?
What we aim to do is that we will make it red and blinking.
That's the spirit. So welcome everybody. My name is Aare Reintam. I'm the co-founder, one of the co-founders and COO of Cybexter Technologies. And what we do is we build up cyber ranges. So what the cyber range is you can imagine as a controlled environment where you can build up different environments, virtualized environments, physical environments, but you can see on a daily basis in every business, every public organization, in a military situation. So everything that you can imagine, file server, mail servers, workstations, everything like this we build up, and then we train out different attack and defense scenarios. And what we are doing is that we take already existing and in our heads doomsday scenarios, building them up and actually playing on hands-on activities like this. How you attack, how you defend. And what we are doing is that we are doing the both roles at the same time. So for example, we have two teams, me and Jana are playing in the same exercise. So what it means is that we are defending at the same time, and then at dedicated time points, we have to attack each other as well. And why we're doing that is that we want to give them the mindset of how to attack and how to defend and get the same actual experience while you're doing that. Because what we have seen when the war started, then we have a saying that you train as a fight, yeah? Everybody knows that. So, but what we have seen is that how we train and how we fight is totally different thing, is that we are comfy and lazy people. So what we have seen is that the learning path is too long. And this Ukrainian war has taught us, because since we also operate there at the moment, is that now we truly see how you should train and how you should fight. The way and the quickness, how they have to learn of defending the systems in a very quick manner, this is something that we haven't seen beforehand. We knew it theoretically, but there is no possibility to do it hands-on because we didn't have the experience. And this is where we come in, and we actually help this. And what we are also doing is that we don't only take, let's say, because the Russian, Ukraine war is at the moment ongoing, we don't only take the APTs and attacks what the Russians are doing. We are looking also the same aspects, the US, India, China, what they are using, what exploits they are using, what tools they are using. And what is very interesting is that the Chinese tools, some of the beacons, the Western ADs are not able to detect because they are acting a bit differently. So this is the point, what we are teaching and what we are doing.
All right, thank you very much. This is interesting. We will come back to you and your experience from Ukraine in general. Mihkel, you as a deputy commander of the Estonian Defense Forces Cyber Command, I think the most I think you could be the best equipped to answer the question what has changed and what have we learned maybe also from what has changed since the 24th of February this year.
Yes, hi, I'm Mihkel. So what has changed, the main thing has changed when I used to kind of talk to our generals about cyber, then now everybody's saying that you can't cyber over a river. So basically cyber is like on a second layer now. So basically it used to be more popular. But on the other hand, what we have seen is that military procedures work. So, for example, the Viasat attack that we saw in Ukraine, it had an effect, but since military trains on different scenarios, so and our resilience is redundancy in many cases, so we can change the way that we communicate. So this has changed. In that sense, we have seen proof that our procedures work, and we have seen that you can overcome those obstacles as well. So basically bringing in Starlink really quickly from the US side has also kind of shown us the agility that the private sector might have in supporting kind of one's military efforts. And also we have seen a lot of other kind of private sector enterprises trying to kind of connect with us to support the efforts in Ukraine. So basically we have seen a change in the ecosystem more or less. In terms of attacks, well, kind of my personal belief is that cyber attacks and information operations will return after they run out of bullets. Let's put it this way. So after people stop dying with this rate, so they will return heavily. But right now, I would say from the military perspective, cyber is on a kind of a lower level than it was before the conflict.
That's an interesting viewpoint, because what we've seen from a very like an international media aspect of this, that everybody talks very much about cyber in terms of what it means for the rest of the world, but as we understand that the actual fighting, the kinetic war is taking place in a very localized space, and that's where the actual, people die. This is something that you do not, none of the phishing attacks will get you killed, basically. Well, it could, but okay. For reference for everybody, the Viasat attack that Mikkel was referencing was how the Russian, I think the military intelligence took out some of the satellites that have been providing internet access all over Europe, actually. And they basically sent code to brick some of these devices that were being used all over Europe, and but especially also in Ukrainian field, the theater of war. The collateral damage from that attack actually had some of the German wind turbines out for 3 months. Some of these wind turbines that would have actually given us maybe some lower energy prices were actually, I think, Russians are also to blame for that.
Yeah, if I may add, then one of the discussions that I've heard in different regions is like whether there are cyber activity in Ukraine or not. There's a huge amount of cyber activity, and one of the kind of reasoning that I've heard from the politicians is that Russia is afraid of spillover into NATO countries. So the same attack shows that shutting down 5,500 wind turbines, then I'm quite sure that they are not really concerned about the kind of the overspilling. So in that sense, there are like two kind of different wings. One say that cyber is not happening, but right now as we speak, we have over 900 documented attacks in Ukraine since the beginning of war.
Right, so things have changed, and we need to be talking about resilience, not only resilience in Estonia of state systems and so on and so forth, but resilience, cyber resilience of private enterprises, private companies who may be either direct victims or they may also be collateral damage when some countries are at war with each other. But let's come back to Aare for just one more, at least one more time. I think a couple more times though. Experience from Ukraine. I understand that you and your company are, as of right now, or have been for a long time actually, partnering up with the Ukrainian government and helping them not just to train, but also to, well, why don't you just talk us through what are you doing with the Ukrainian government and what are you seeing over there?
Yeah, thank you. So maybe not to talk you over what I'm doing there. So, but what we help them up is we boost the capability that they are lacking. So we don't go there and invent the bicycle, but what we are doing is that if we see that there are some kind of dedicated attacks coming in, then the human population is limited. So what we can do is that we mimic the same attacks, the same infrastructure, and train quickly, like literally quickly, young military cadets and enthusiasts in this field how to detect and also mitigate with these kind of attacks with hands-on experience. So not producing tons of just paperwork, but actually giving them the experience how to understand if there is attack coming, how it looks like, how you can detect it, how you can mitigate it, and you have to go through hands-on, because on a theoretical basis I'm also a ninja. I can fight everybody, but if I'm fighting somebody on the streets, I'm not that big guy. Most probably I will be kicked down, if I'm not fast enough. So that's the same approach. What we are taking in is that you have to have the real hands-on, experience. Otherwise, the theoretical, masters we can all be, but this doesn't usually help.
All right. And actually, this is where we are mapping the problem that we're facing all together. So there is a skills gap, basically. But before actually getting to skills, maybe Jana, you could also discuss what are some of the attacks or the threats or the problems that the enterprises are facing right now. Just to frame the problem in a wider sense, that yes, definitely there's a military to military or a country against country going on, but what is the private sector view, and what kind of things are you seeing?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that has happened over time, and definitely not in the last 6 months, a bit longer period, is that cyber attacks definitely aren't only happening between countries. It is very much in the enterprises themselves as well. And if generally speaking, what types of attacks are maybe most common this year is a good old classic ransomware. We get into the computer system and let's say, the attacker, right, gets into the system and encrypts all of your important files. Let's say contracts, customer lists, manufacturing documentation, whatever is valuable for you. And then they say, hey, want to access them ever again? Here's the crypto address to send 1 million to or more. And if I look at the statistics that cyber insurance providers share, then average attack like this or anything similar in cyber costs around $200,000 for the company. And not so fun fact is that 6 months later, almost half of these companies go out of business. So it's a pretty deadly attack to enterprises. And maybe a few years back, me myself was also under the impression that, yeah, but these are huge companies in the US. I know airplane manufacturers, hospitals, things like that. But actually, 44% of cyber attacks are against SMBs, so small and medium businesses. And although almost half are against them, only 14% say that they have any capability to deal with them, which is very worrisome, considering that the amount of attacks is increasing 20-30% every year. So yeah, and one more attack, just so because you will all be impacted by it soon, probably. It's inevitable.
That was a threat?
It's just a brutal reality of our world is business email compromise. So somebody sends your accountant a new place to send money to. And if you think that's okay, again, these are the IT companies, etc. I recently heard a farmer in Estonia being victim of such an attack. So definitely not something IT sector independent.
Oh, definitely. And we at the Estonia Information System Authority have been very wary of these business email compromise attacks, which of the attacks that are reported to CERT EE, the business email compromise losses are much higher than any losses from the ransomware incidents in Estonia that we've heard and seen. So this is definitely a bigger one. But you did actually point to the capability of small medium businesses to fight those or even to prevent those kinds of things. And actually, let me just go to Mikael for this. So when we're talking about maybe some state systems, the military, you can't really insure. Like there's no insurance really against the ransomware if it comes and ends up, encrypting all of your systems somewhere. I mean, who are you going to send a bill to, or and how do you do that? But the question is, how do you get those capabilities from people who may not be working for some of these private companies who are raking in all the monies?
Thank you. That's a really good question. I'm sure that some countries have really good backups of other countries as well. So basically, maybe there is another opportunity which we haven't kind of discovered yet. So, but
maybe we should treat ransomware as a relatively cheap backup version.
It might be, yeah. But on the other hand, we are looking at totally from a different perspective. So we also have to acknowledge that when everybody's kind of agreements come to force majeure, right? Then they probably will do whatever they want. So this is where we have to do actually business. So we have to extend our kind of networks and in the military, from the military side, like everywhere. So we are using a lot of the stuff that they are doing. So basically we are using their trainings and stuff like that. But on the other hand, our mission, like from the military perspective or from the government perspective, it's different. From the military perspective, it's security. So basically our mission set is different. So we are not after profit. And we are not basically trying to be as lean as possible. We are trying to be redundant in that sense that we would be enough kind of dispersed around the place that we would be able to kind of operate under the really extreme conditions as well. So this is kind of totally different mindset in that sense when we're discussing that.
But but still, let's talk about another aspect of it. That the public sector or the military still makes use of a lot of private companies' tools, services, like we've seen. Ukrainian government is helping or is training their people with the help of cyber technology and so on.
Estonia as well.
So how do you get that? So what has changed in terms of how do you view the private sector, its services, and the risk that comes with maybe multinational companies, maybe companies that have a background from I don't know, countries that may not actually have the same values that we have?
So our solution is quite simple. Everything has to be on premise. So basically what we have witnessed in Ukraine, though, if you are in need, then you will go into cloud. No, so we have 2 reports from Microsoft saying that cloud saved them. I will not kind of start discussion whether it's true or not. There's definitely truth to it. There are ways probably that the military and government are willing to relax their kind of current, let's say, framework in that sense. But the other thing is that it's going to be on our premises. It doesn't talk to systems that we do not want to. So we are paranoid. We have to be paranoid, because at the end of the day, we don't want somebody to switch off the light like in the moment of need. So we are using a lot of, all of it is mostly private sector. So we are programming in-house only the stuff which doesn't have a market and which we use kind of for our own operations.
I'm going to go to questions in just a second from the audience as well, but before that I want to ask you to both, because you are representing the private sector, you are selling your product to I don't know, companies, countries, so on and so forth. Do you choose your clients? I mean, like if the Russian government is going to come to, ask you for services or tools, what do you do? And I'm not just talking about the Russian government, I'm talking about like the risk of choosing the wrong client. Jana.
Well, that's a great question. In the end of the day, we all need to obey to our own morals, right? And of course, there's a range of morals. From 10 people, you get different range. And I think for companies like ours, we definitely need to think about it a bit more than any random business software. To answer you, definitely we think about it, we consider, because that's going to be on your conscience, right? And that was definitely one of the questions that I also raised when before I started at Finalize. What is the position?
And from our side, then what we do is we distinguish the customers from nations and then private companies. All in all, it doesn't matter from that perspective, but for example, if you do security service in Pakistan and then try to breach Indian market, then it might not happen. Then again, a business decision is made, which country brings in more cash flow and capabilities for us. And then the same approach is that, of course, when we do business with countries or even businesses that are from unfriendly companies, then it seals our own doors in our friendly companies and already countries where we are in. And we just reached 53rd country in the world that we are serving our services. So we very carefully select who we are operating together, and there is not even a chance that some of our, let's say, services are bought from companies or even nations that we cannot provide services.
All right. Very politically correct answers. I like that. Let me ask you, the audience, do you have questions right now? Yes, there is a question right there in the front. Please introduce yourself and ask a question from a panel.
Hello, my name is Peter Matskala from law firm Trinity. And I have a twofold question. How can a startup defend itself against cyber attacks in some practical ways? And how could a startup help defend Estonia and its allies against cyber attacks?
All right. I think the first question, Mikkel just actually had a talk about that. How to and when to start investing in cybersecurity for startups. Was that Can you do a short 25-second? Okay, maybe.
Yeah. Recap. Simple cyber hygiene, and I would say cloud services right now when a startup wants to start. So basically, there are a lot of providers there who have built-in security, which is way better than having your own on-prem some kind of server, which you don't have any control over after a week, because the robots will take it over. And there are several ways that startups can help the entire alliance. We have right now launching Diana, which is the NATO accelerator, which will have an accelerator also here in Estonia to kind of support in many areas. We still have challenges in the forensic field. We have forensics field. We still have challenges in machine learning, how we will employ those, how we will check, we will control this machine learning application, and so on. So we have huge amount of stuff in front of us, and also how to keep it secure for the military as well. So basically, so we could have the trust against the system, so it wouldn't be in China or something.
So I think the second part of that question is something that we actually wanted to touch upon in general. how can startups help a country or actually, society as a whole? Because, a country is nothing without the companies and the people who are operating in that country, and the attacks against a country may not actually be an attacks against the state information portal or something like that. It may be an attack against the bank. It may be an attack against something that we all need. So, but the question is, how can all these nice people who have come to listen to us, how can they leverage, some of these ideas to build good cybersecurity startups which could be beneficial for all? And I'm sure that you all don't want new competitors coming out of here, but still you could theorize, maybe if you were a new up and coming business person, where would you, or what is it in the market where you could position yourself? Maybe Are?
Yes, so thank you. That's also a very interesting topic, and I have thought about it. So when we started, then we also wanted to invent a bicycle. So, but that was a wrong path to take. So what we actually immediately understood is that governments and states are moving slowly, and when you can boost up some specific sector, that you can reduce the time or budget, 1 time, 3 times. For example, the training curve that we are offering reduces from 1 year to 3 to 4 weeks, and this is tremendous time that the governments are winning. And if we can bring this kind of value add into the market as fast and with reasonable pricing, then that will boost up. And this is the, let's say, key of the startups, to find these kind of spots where the government or states or big enterprises are already slow, and adding this value add to make it faster, better, or quicker. Then this is already an unbelievable income that you can let's say enjoy.
So yeah, basically you have to find Mikael or myself, and then find out what is really slow right now, and then just do something a lot quicker and better, and then sell it to us. I think that's the key. That's what would you say? That's
one possibility.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But Jana, how where would you find the money in the market here?
So it's a very big market. There are so many things that I could mention, where to even start. So if we even think about the question that came from the audience, right? And the startups or people who are aware that, okay, I should think about cyber hygiene. There's often a question like, where do I even start? And today, if you listen to us as well, then we're speaking about, like Binalize, our customers are huge enterprises. Then, of course, governments are doing cyber, and I would say that's where most of the action nowadays is going on. Of course, there is tools that are coming down to more SMBs and smaller companies as well, but mostly it is not, in my opinion, very accessible. Cyber is something that we feel like it's like flossing, we should be doing it, but compared to flossing, it's much more complex, right? So I would say that a bet that I have is that today every single company in the world is doing accounting. Some are doing double booking, but they're doing accounting. And this is something that everybody does. And I bet that in 15 years, maybe 20, every single company will need to have an information security program. They need to have this systematic approach, how they maintain their resilience, how they protect themselves. And if you think that, the mom and pop shop needs to do information security and cyber, then that will need a whole lot of different solutions to anything that we have on the market today. So yeah, I would think about democratizing cyber resilience.
So still the same idea, taking something that is very complex, slow, and needs a lot of resources, and to do it quicker, better, and with less resources.
Yeah, not so complex.
Yeah. All right, Mikkel, you wanted to add on here?
Yeah, I will do a kind of a suicide on the stage right now.
Suicide on the stage.
I would have.
Right.
I would say that I had this discussion today with one of my friends, and they said like they are doing only fintech. So I'm asking you actually that why government deserve your attention, because we haven't built a really good ecosystem to kind of let you on. And so this would be kind of on our side, that since you drew me under the bus, I will do the same for you. And Andres is in a new position, so I'm good. So I've had like discussions right in the audience with a couple of people that how to kind of improve the ecosystems so the startups would actually understand what is kind of government expectations, to lead expectations from the public sector side. Otherwise, there are so many kind of private sector companies from fintech, from somewhere else, who actually need those and who have cash in hand and ready to pay right now.
This actually brings me to the next part, which is, what are your expectations of the startups in that sense? What are your expectations, not just to startups, but also to the academia and maybe the private sector, to increase or to better this ecosystem? To like what is it that you need?
Trustworthy contractors, I would say. So this is something that, well, every military has gone through this, like in US especially. So the people who used to be Cyber Command over the table now are Booz Allen Hamilton or something, but still Cyber Command. So I would say that there are some things that we don't need all the time, but we might need when the right time comes. So, and this is something that, again, I would say that this is partly undone job from our side, to have this kind of circle of trusted kind of partners who we can turn to with, let's say, more delicate issues as well.
All right, let's go.
Yeah,
to the
I will
other side
definitely jump in here.
Yeah.
So that was a controversial statement in that sense that a startup is, quite a young body coming together from bright-minded people trying to do something, and hell no, you will not ever trust them. So again, from our point of view, so we have reached different markets in a way that we have went in and said that we are the guys who know and we understand what we are doing. And they are like doubting, guys, you're coming from Estonia, no border with Russia. How many of you are there? Only 40. My janitor team is bigger than you. There is no trust, like never ever able to get like this. So it's really hard market. The only way how we have, gotten in is, professional respect and, one customer telling to other, and that's how we have built it. But building an ecosystem where you can trust startups, I think that this is utopia.
So
no, I think so.
What do you expect from the government? The government.
The big boy, the big brother. So actually, I have to say that the governments that we have worked together, and especially Estonian government, and since we are so small, so again with Mihkel we have worked together more than 10 years in different Estonian agencies. The same, applies, Lauri, with you. We have also worked in the same agency. So in Estonia, it's quite simple. So we are a thin country, everybody knows each other, and everything happens with like this. Now for example, I don't want to, say anything about bad, but when you go to, for example, Germany, then the layers and the bureaucracy that is, you're facing, then I'm pretty sure that 99.9% of startups will not be able to chew them through that and even get the one contract. And even if you get one contract, then you will be death by success, because then you will be handling only this one governmental client and you're not able to do anything else. So what I'm saying, that's what I'm expecting from customers, is that be like more Estonians, and that will solve the ecosystem.
That's very good. Yeah, everybody be more like Estonians. That's a good takeaway here. Jana, see, it's got an all, give it up. Yeah. Jana, what do you expect from the government, academia, from everybody else in terms of how to make it the ecosystem better, the cyber resilience better?
I think all of us have a common problem, that there is a huge lack of talent, right? So that's a problem that we need to solve by training, what you're helping here. We can educate more in schools as well, but also we can try, like companies like ours, can try to level up the talent that we have, right? So that they can do, that everybody can do more with the people that they have. Because yeah, cyber is one interesting industry where it's often not even a question of the budget or money. There is money, companies have money, but there's not just not enough people to hire. So I think finding a way to solve the talent crisis, I would say this crisis is one of the key things. And I would also a bit argue for Mihkel's sake, I think both the governments...
Suicide.
both governments and startups, we both need to take one step closer to each other. And I think what I've seen is that if you make an offer that is difficult to refuse, then even a government is willing to bend its traditional understandings of what their expectations to partners are. Of course, there isn't like that flexibility doesn't go endlessly, but like if you're a startup in cyberspace, then first step, there's super easy. Mihkel already mentioned it. Make your solution full on-premise, and then all conversations are 78 times easier.
See, practical solutions to actual problems. All right, everybody in this audience, raise your hand if you have a question. Two in the back. Let's say first over on the left side, and then let's take both questions after, like one after the other. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Uzair. I'm a co-founder of a cybersecurity company called Right Hand Cybersecurity, and our focus is on the human layer of cybersecurity. So that is where my question is. It's great to have someone from the government, because when it comes to cyber resilience, what we have observed in the last few years, sometimes cyber resilience got compromised because of the vulnerability of a human, which is in this case, previously it was pandemic, where people was genuinely interested to get some help, and in the case of the war, people wants to help someone, and the hackers and the bad guys are actually trying to get benefit out of it. It has nothing to do with enterprises, SMBs, it's like the normal humans that are out there genuinely wants to help people. So from the government perspective, what you are doing right now for the Estonian people to prepare themselves for this kind of war, and like how they should not be vulnerable to these kind of attacks.
All right, thank you. And we'll take the other question on the right-hand side as well.
Okay, my name, actually, I don't need a microphone. Hi, I'm Thomas T.J. Jackson. I'm a GSD Ventures partner, excellent panel. And I am really happy about this, because I think a lot of people don't understand the risk, not just the current situation or the current war, let's call it a spade, that this is every day. And I think at the same time, when we are having this war, something good has come out. And now people can see that the cybersecurity, you really have to be on your toes. And this is why I was really happy to come to the panel. And my point, and my question for you guys, because Israel has lived next to the threats all the time. So now in the Baltic states and in Finland and in Europe in general, tell me, what do you see in the next 2 years as far as the risks? Are they growing, or are they just stabilizing? Thank you.
Thank you so much for those two questions. We'll take one more question, and then we'll answer all three.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for the great panel. My name is Farid. I'm a general partner in Wise Guys Cyber. So my question is quite pragmatic. When you talk about startups, especially cybersecurity startups, they're different. And we know money is a big part of startup culture, right? You need money to grow. So I know the government is doing some stuff. There's some private funds. But I wanted to ask, what are private companies doing? Like, I know CyberXer, Binalize, you guys have been through the journey. You've been through the struggle of finding trust. And the one thing I find missing in the market today is funds and money for cybersecurity startups to just pass that value of death. Because that value of death is long. Nobody wants to buy your stuff if you're a bunch of 8 guys in Estonia. You could be the best thing since sliced bread here, but nobody cares outside. And that requires money, that requires runway. And there's tons of funds, tons of money when you're making millions and you're raising a Series A, but there's absolutely no money. Nobody's stepping out and saying, hey, here's 250K, I believe in this, let's see how you guys can be a success. So this is very specifically not for Mikhail, because I know your point of view and I know Diana, but this is mainly for Binalize and CyberXer. Like, what are you guys doing to help cybersecurity startups from purely funding perspective? Because in the end, money is what matters, right? That's it.
All right, let me, we have 3 questions now, and we're actually starting to, we're wrapping up. There was another hand up. You can come to us later on and ask your question, sir, if that's okay. We'll take those 3 questions and wrap this up. Let's start with the last question first. What are you guys doing in terms of funding and helping startups and doing the funding question?
Yeah, that was a good question. So it has been a nasty road. So several times we have thought that, okay, that's it. We are not able to, walk anymore because the runway has ended. But to be totally honest, then the Estonian government has helped us a lot, and especially the Enterprise Estonia. They have dedicated, let's say, funds and possibilities where you can actually get some R&D money. So what we have done is that we have taken the R&D money from different Estonian governmental bodies to boost our R&D, while we then can spend money on searching new clients and building like this. And of course, what we then did late last year was that we spoke with Estonian VCs, and we actually went abroad as well, met with several VCs all over the world, and then we understood that the VCs that we have here in Estonia are the ones that have boosted several unicorns. Then the mindset is the same, the way how they think is the same, and they have the experience. So we also took in one of the best Estonian VCs, and not only Estonia, we also included the F-Secure founder Risto Siilasmaa into our portfolio. And they are not giving us only the money, but they are also giving us the trust that we can now go and knock on the doors, because they have helped unicorns, and we have the F-Secure label also with us that helps us to open the doors. So this is a tremendous, let's say, boost that we just got. Thanks.
So everyone's a startup at one point, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Jana, how would you respond to this question of how is the Estonian, the enterprise ecosystem helping new startups?
Yeah, I think it was a great question. I hadn't thought about that detail, but absolutely getting a cybersecurity startup off the ground to a prototype is maybe I'm unfair, but it is quite deep tech. It is quite technical. It's not yet another social media app or find a carpenter app startup that we see so many of. So definitely the early stage will be a lot more complex and difficult. And the thought that came to my mind is that indeed in Estonia as well, we have game founders, we have specific funds and accelerators for specific topics, but surprisingly, maybe I'm wrong, there's not that many for cyber section, considering our pride as Estonia for cyber. There is something probably, but
no, but there will be. So
great.
I am, glad to. There's some. Binalize and CyberXer.
Startups, not what you guys. I mean, I know there's funds, there's what are you guys doing? Because you've been through it. You have empathy towards these founders.
Well, definitely, but Binalize is very young and still discovering itself as well, right? So I think we're still in the place where we're mostly focusing on ourselves and figuring that out. But I think one thing is maybe often undervalued or unappreciated is that we all know that we need smart money. Any startup needs smart money. There is one alternative that is not as good because it doesn't have money, is that have great advisors in your board advisors, and similar to having an F-Secure logo, having a great respectable name in your board of advisors will help similarly. Maybe Binalize people will be in that group in the future. So yeah, that's how we might at least help.
Let me ask Mihkel, where do you see ourselves, Estonia in general, in the next 2 years, in the question of where we are geopolitically and how we are defending our society here?
Yeah, coming to your question, so I would say that probably the kind of it will continue. The ransomware will continue because it has evolved over the years and it just gets kind of more trickier. Then we will be facing cybercrime as a service, I think, which will increase as well because it's really easy to buy right now different attacks. You don't have to understand anything about cyber. The only thing that you have to understand is how to kind of pay in bitcoins, and then you can, and the right address, of course, in the dark web. Then these are kind of the things that we are looking at increasing. And I hope that
Proton mail.
Let you any more talk. So you just said that you hired the trust. You had investment from the trust to have more trust. So basically the trust concept might even work. But there was another question which I will refer to you about the hygiene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The question about what are we doing about the Estonian citizens? This has been my job for the last 3.5 years in the Estonian Information System Authority. We have been conducting large-scale awareness campaigns and trainings for the most vulnerable of the citizens and people around here. And the next iteration of that awareness campaign is going to be starting in October, which is the Cybersecurity Month, Cybersecurity Awareness Month in Europe and in the United States as well. So in Estonia, if you know the words IT-vaatlik, then this is something that has been going on for the last 3 years now through the because we decided that we were going to be focusing on the general awareness of cybersecurity threats, which everybody should know. And of course, our schools are doing their part, but everybody has their own role to play. With this, I'm going to stop here and finish up this whole panel here. Thank you to all the panelists. Give them a round of applause, please. And Kati has something to say, and just final words.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this very, very fruitful debate. I really hope that also Startup Estonia helps our community here together to be a little bit more Estonian. But another applause for the panelists. We have something for you as well, so Inga will help me a little. And then also a couple of words about, so Startup Estonia is developing a community methods and idea, an idea tender. So we very much welcome you to also get in touch with us. And also one of them will be a hackathon, which we are planning on organizing. So if you're more interested in what we are doing, then do please approach me afterwards. Right now we have some time to mix and mingle. And then also Startup Day is continuing tomorrow morning. This debate here also included thoughts about future talent. So tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock we have a seminar about this as well, in a more educational perspective, but still touching upon the same topics. But thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the day.